How is it going, everybody? This is Pred with the SC2 Pred channel, and here is the Mordekaiser video that people had been asking me for. But I wanted to take the time while this is loading to actually explain how this is going to work. I believe that there's more to this game than just knowing the runes and the masteries and the items and stuff like that. There's a lot of in-game decisions that need to be made, and I'm starting to see, especially in random rank games, I had a pretty long string of losses today, and a lot of it came down to just really weird decisions that people seem to be making and stuff that didn't make sense. There were plenty of deaths that didn't need to happen, and if people, and this kind of comes down to what I've actually said before. So it comes down to things like map awareness and to, I guess, being greedy and stuff like that. So what I'm going to be using this video for, hopefully, you're going to see that it's the entire video. This is an entire game that I put up. I recorded it earlier this week, and I wanted to get it up sooner, but I wasn't able to. So either way, this is just going to be me going over what people are wanting to see, the build and all that good stuff, but also going over a little bit of, these are some of the decisions that either that can make or break the team. And you're actually going to see in here I do make a couple mistakes, but I mean that's how it goes, and we just kind of move on and learn from them. But really, this game's going to try to let people understand what are some good ideas and what is some bad ideas when playing this game. So hopefully we can get, I don't know, just higher quality players. I'm going to try to start doing more videos like this that just go over general ideas, things that maybe aren't too champion specific. Some of the stuff might touch on very champion specific stuff, but for the most part, I want to try to get some more videos up of just complete overall ideas of the game, because I mean, I would like to see better players on League of Legends, as I'm sure that you would, and so hopefully this helps you out. But first, what everyone came to see, the runes, the masteries, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about some cool Mordekaiser stuff. So I will be starting that here now. And so the runes that I use for Mordekaiser are pretty much, the big goal of them is a little bit of magic pen and mostly cooldown reduction. One of the things that kind of kills Mordekaiser is his long cooldowns. So since and also actually his abilities scale pretty poorly with AP, so you really don't get a lot from the AP. You get more from this little bit of magic pen and from being able to just use your abilities more, which is why I favor the cooldown reduction. The armor I actually get as just kind of a defensive, I guess. It's more because my build includes a decent amount of magic resist, so I would rather just pick up a little bit of extra armor from the runes and stuff like that. So basically, the yellow runes are mostly armor and armor at 18. The blue ones are more cooldown reduction. The quintessence is what I believe that's called, is the more cooldown reduction. And then in here, we have the magic pen coming from my marks. So moving on to the masteries I use for Mordekaiser. And basically, I don't think I've shown this before. I'm not sure if I have or not. But so the idea is like I said, his abilities don't scale well with AP, but the difference between AP and crit for me down here, I don't want much crit with him. The AP gives me more benefit than that. And then same thing, just getting up to the magic pen, or penetrating magic resistance and some more cooldown reduction. And then over on this side, most of this stuff's pretty straightforward, because really the goal is you want, well, for me, I want quickness and intelligence, and I want presence of the master, so that way my ignite comes off cooldown more, so it's more likely to be ready when I use my ult. The rest of it is just trying to avoid mana, so I don't need max mana, I don't need mana regen, don't need insight. Mystical vision I don't need because I run with Ghost, and same thing with Blink of an Eye. So really this is just about the only way you can get down there without hitting a bunch of completely useless masteries. But for now, that's pretty much all it is. You can see it's 9-0-21, and like I said, the big goal is the magic resistance cooldown reduction, and then cooldown reduction and speed on this side. So we are going to go ahead and move on into the game, and we'll just start going over some stuff there. Okay, so we're basically going to be in this game. I'm going to go over a few of the Mordekaiser specific stuff real quick, but before we get into the build, which you can see, I'm going to apologize for the fact that I didn't record my mouse. I shut that off for some reason, I'm not sure why. So future videos will actually have my mouse in there, so you're not just seeing random clicks, and it'll be maybe a little bit easier to follow where I'm at. So one of the things to realize about Mordekaiser, you can see he has no mana bar, he has no energy bar. He plays a lot like Mundo in this sense, where his abilities cost health. And so it's always a good idea to keep in mind. I haven't actually tried to see, at some point I want to see if you can actually kill yourself with your abilities, but I haven't tried. I don't know if it'll just be like you don't have enough health to cast that or something. But the other thing to notice is that he does have the bar below his health, which is actually his armor. The armor comes from his passive and from using his abilities. I can't remember the exact, but it's something like 25% of the ability's damage. And then each ability talks about how much armor it adds. But basically, this is the reason why Mordekaiser doesn't need a huge amount of health, because this acts almost like health on demand. So it's also affected by armor, by magic resist. So I mean, it might as well be hit points. And this is why a lot of times when you see a Mordekaiser is getting like war mods and stuff. I don't really understand that because they don't need a huge amount more health. But he does like health regen because, again, his abilities do cost him health to cast. So some of the issues that I've seen with Mordekaiser and basically how I developed the build that I'm working on, or that I use, is that one of his issues is he has no crowd control. Nothing on his skill list gives any slow, stun, snare, nothing like that, which means really he's pretty easy to kite around for the most part. The other thing is, like I said, he does kind of favor health regen because of his abilities costing him health, and it's nice to be able to charge your shield up and then the whole time your health regen's kind of ticking away while your shield absorbs the damage. But so the first item I get with that is Force in Nature. Now the other stuff that Force in Nature gets him, remember your shield is affected by armor and by magic resist, so Force in Nature giving you some magic resist, some health regen, and then the most important thing that I think for Mordekaiser besides cooldown reduction is speed. The Force in Nature gives you a run speed increase, and I love it. The fact that I will most of the time be faster, this is also part of why I run Ghost, but most of the time I'll be faster than any champion on the field. I mean, I've not seen many other players get stuff with a focus on run speed, so I can run just about anyone down even without a lack of, or with a lack of, available crowd control. The other item that I end up getting with him is Mercury Treads, and this is kind of focused on the same thing, that I have no CC. I also don't have any CC breakers, so being snared or slowed by with Mordekaiser stinks because then it makes it a lot easier to kite you around. So Mercury Treads is a really good choice. Now, sometimes I'll go with something else, another set of boots. If I do, usually it's boots of swiftness because, again, the whole run speed thing. But if they don't have a lot of snares on their team, or I don't need the magic resist as much, then I won't do it. And it's also kind of important to realize that I will get Force in Nature even if they have very little magic dealing champions, because most of the time you're not going to find a group that has none. And again, the health regen and the run speed increase more than worth the lack of use, I guess, for the magic resist. But the Mercury Treads are very good because the 35% reduction on snares is extremely key when it comes to not being kited around, especially since that affects taunt, Ash's stun, all sorts of stuff. And then the last, I guess, core item that I get with him is Trinity Force. And by core item, I mean these are the items that I'm going to get probably every game. Now, the cool thing with Trinity Force is that it makes my Mace of Spades hit a little bit harder because, kind of like Ezreal's, I don't remember what it is, but it's his Q move, that it'll both proc and use Trinity Force. So does Mace of Spades for Mordekaiser, which makes it hit a little bit harder. And, again, since he doesn't scale well with AP or anything like that, it's nice to get little buffs like that. Now, the other kind of advantage that you get is that it gives you even more run speed. I don't remember the exact number, but I think you're at like 450 or so without Ghost with just those 3 items. And with that, you'll actually find that you're going to be able to run just about anyone down. You're not going to have too many people who can easily get away from you. So again, I kind of stress that the biggest stats that I look for in Mordekaiser are going to be cooldown reduction and run speed, and health regen, I guess, will be a close third or whatever. And the reason for the cooldown reduction is, as I had actually said in the previous part of this video, Mordekaiser's abilities scale terribly with AP. And I'm not sure what the ratio is, but I know I've tried an AP Mordekaiser, and you just don't do any damage. I had probably 400 or 500 AP, and I was doing more, I guess, but it just wasn't worth it. I was so gimped in so many other aspects that I actually found it better to just be able to cast my abilities more. And so that's why I get the cooldown reduction. And then the reason I get the cooldown reduction at 18 versus the straight up cooldown reduction is because really I just want to make sure that by the end of the game that I can get up to 40% as easily as possible. So again, my core items, once again going over this, Force of Nature because of the run speed and the health regen, and the magic resist is nice. Mercury Treads because it reduces snare duration, again increases run speed, and the magic reduction is also nice there. And then the Trinity Force because it gives you a little bit of AP, which doesn't really matter, and then it gives you run speed and also makes Mace of Spades hit harder. After that, really, I've started to settle in on a few other items, but I wouldn't really call them core. So for most of my champions, after the initial 3 items, we'll say, I end up with items that they're just kind of situational. It depends on what it is that we need. Now, with that being said, some of the items that I tend to favor with Mordekaiser are things like Sunfire Cape and usually what I end up finishing this out with actually is Sunfire Cape and 2 Bloodthirsters are how I like to do this. But again, it's all kind of situational. So if I find out that I'm being hit really hard by magic or something, I might go ahead and get a Banshee's Veil, or if I need more armor, I might go ahead and get a Thorn Mail, or hell, even a Guardian Angel if it's needed. But so I don't know. Ultimately, beyond the core items, it's really situational. But if you want a complete build list, I would say after that, if you don't really know what you're doing, go ahead and get a Sunfire Cape and 2 Bloodthirsters. Just, I don't know, it seems to work pretty well on them. Now, the other thing that, well, actually, I guess for Mordekaiser specific stuff, that's really it. You want to make sure with your abilities that you are using your Siphon of Destruction to hit as many creep as you can. Now, if you use it to harass to actually hit the enemy champions, that's good because once you get the cooldown reduction, it's not that long and you can keep it up pretty easily. But really, your goal is to get as many creep as you can in there because that's what gives you your shield and makes it to where you can stand there and take a hit from a tower like I just did there, and it didn't actually hurt me, it just hurt my shield, which kind of will go into a little bit of a min-max type thing, which I know a lot of people like the whole theory crafting and you know, all the ideal situation in any scenario. And really, if your shield is constantly full, you're wasting it. Because it has a normal decay, it basically, if you're not using it to absorb damage, you are wasting the fact that you have the shield. And this actually allows you to play a little bit more aggressively with Mordekaiser because you do want to be, you know, taking damage with your shield. But I say that kind of with a grain of salt because I don't want people getting so aggressive that, you know, they get themselves killed and they're like, oh, Pred's idea was dumb. You don't want to be taking physical damage, which means if it takes a little bit of decay, sure. But like you can see, she's throwing a lot of spells, or she was throwing a lot of spells at my shield. That's fine because that's, I mean, it doesn't hurt me, and she's basically throwing mana away, which makes it more likely that she's going to have to go back and stuff like that. The biggest time that you actually might have problems, and even though this video is not me in mid, I play mid as Mordekaiser pretty regularly, but the big thing is with Mordekaiser in mid is that there are a few champions that can give him problems. For the most part, no one's going to give him issues, but there are a few, and I'll go over them actually after this. So I kind of want to explain this death. I actually didn't need to die here. If I would have ran back, one, you could kind of see that I was pacing back and forth. It was because I was like, I know I shouldn't be here right now. I had pretty low health, and my ult was up, but Ignite wasn't, and I knew Shen was going to be able to ult Annie. But I kind of paced back and forth, and really, if you get in a situation like that where you're like, oh, I don't really know if I should be down here, just leave. Because at worst, you were wrong and you could have stayed, but you didn't die. So right there, like I said, I definitely should have left. But some of the champions that give Mordekaiser problems mid, at least from what I've seen, if Ezreal's good, I've had some problems with him just because he's got a really long range, and Mordekaiser's range on his Siphon is a decent range, I guess, but it's not anywhere near Ezreal's. But again, that kind of means that you have to be facing against a good Ezreal, and really, when you are, the biggest tip I can give is just make sure there are always creep between you and him, because your Siphon can go through creep, his skill shots can't.